Alright, so I'm sure you've all seen or heard about the clip of Dr. Sanjay Gupta on Joe Rogan's podcast. Plenty of people have talked about it at this point, and I might have missed it, but there is one very important detail that I haven't heard really discussed or brought up, and that is how that this situation completely exposes that CNN is in no way interested in mitigating damage or health impacts of COVID. They could not possibly care less if you end up really sick or die of COVID. It's not something that they are concerned with at all. Now, why am I confident in saying that? Well, as you know, they demonize Joe Rogan and ivermectin incessantly, referring to ivermectin as mere horse dewormer, and Joe Rogan is taking these animal pills. They said this over and over and over again, and these are the people who are supposedly the informed ones. I really doubt that no medical professional at any point that they are around quite frequently didn't tell them, hey, ivermectin has been used in millions of humans, administered billions of times. The guy who created it got the Nobel Prize for it. Not that that's terribly significant nowadays, but it's been lauded as a fantastic drug in humans. You should stop demonizing it like that. I doubt that no one ever said that to Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, or Brian Stelter, but they continued to say this, continued to push what they knew for a fact to be a highly disingenuous comment. It was like what Don Lemon said when he said, well, technically we weren't lying because you can give this to horses. This is disgustingly disingenuous. You can give a dog Benadryl. Does that make it dog medication? Does that mean you should call it dog medication? Maybe between friends that might be a little joke, you could say, but when you're on national television and you're playing the part of some guy who supposedly cares about mitigating health impacts of COVID, when you demonize a medication that has been shown, not proven beyond any shadow of a doubt, but shown to have antiviral properties by inhibiting severe acute respiratory syndrome from SARS-CoV-2 in the early stages of infection, which means it could be an indispensable weapon against COVID. When you do that, you show yourself for what you really are. You do not care about people's health. Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, and Brian Stelter know this to be true, which leads me to my main point I mentioned earlier. If there is someone who is a pundit on national news, and this person truly, sincerely cares about actually mitigating the danger posed by COVID, they would have never demonized ivermectin in this way. This would have been unthinkable to them. At most, they might have said, hey, here's a medication with some antiviral properties. It's been a miracle drug in other areas. This could at least be a part of the solution to COVID. That, to me, is totally acceptable. No need to pretend ivermectin is some panacea for all things coronavirus related. But to demonize it in the way they had, and to push that story, if you remember how they just jumped right into that completely faked story about people going to the hospital in droves because of ivermectin poisoning, they didn't even bother to look into maybe, is this really true? They didn't bother to do that. They just jumped right into it. But all of this has one very, very clear message. Those at CNN do not care one iota about your health. This is purely political, and it's purely for ratings. Remember, after all, when the technical director at CNN was caught saying that they loved putting the number of cases and deaths up on the screen at CNN because there was a marked increase in viewership? You don't think they didn't want that number to go higher and higher? Of course they did. So all in all, let this just be very revealing to everyone. CNN is in no way interested in having COVID become a thing of the past. No one in their right mind would knowingly demonize a potentially effective medication if they actually, sincerely, and honestly cared in the slightest bit about actually helping people. But anyway, that is all for now. Like, subscribe, share this video. It's extremely appreciated, and you take it easy.